What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. So, as you might have seen by the title, your man's Tony Turncoat, aka Tony the Bellend Bellew, has warned Anthony Joshua about his upcoming fight with Alexander Usyk, aka Alexander Usyk. And what Tony the Bellend Bellew's basically warned AJ about is that he said, listen, AJ, you're going to be fighting the best boxer in the world today and one of the best boxers in the history of the sport. Why does Tony the Turncoat Bellend believe Alexander Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter of all time? He believes that because he rates himself so highly. He thinks, wait a minute, well, I'm probably top 5 all time ever in anywhere. Sorry, Tony Bellend, I spoke to him. He said, why YB? I said, Bellend, what planet are you on? How can you possibly rate Usyk the number 1 fighter in the whole world ever? And he says, well, YB, obviously, what we know is, these are quotes, by the way, from the Bellend. He said, listen, YB, what we know is or is not David Big Toe Hay a top 5 heavyweight in the last 20 years? I said, go on. He said, well, if David Big Toe is a top 5 heavyweight of the last 20 years with unforeseen one-punch power, and I knocked out the top 5 super duper hard punching heavyweight David Hay twice. I smoked his boots. I smoked a prime Big Toe Hay. Prime he was, 100%. He was prime, better than ever, world beater, and I smoked him. Now, if I smoked David Big Toe, one of the best top 5 all-time heavyweights, that means I'm top 3 all-time heavyweights, and therefore I fought Alexander Usyk, and he smoked my boots. So there you go. It's a bit of a, what would you call it? It's a channel. You've got David Big Toe Hay at the bottom, here bottom. You've got Bellend in the middle, and Usyk's at the top. Usyk's basically topped Bellend and Hay. Yeah? And that's why Bellend really believes that Usyk is all that. That's the truth. Now, what he'll say, he'll talk in circles, Bellend will. Oh, it's this part, it's that part. But really, deep down, that's why Bellend believes Usyk's the best ever cruiserweight. That's what he said, 100%. Tony Bellend said Usyk is the best cruiserweight ever lived. I've never heard so much rubbish in my life. Anyway, I want to give you man his actual quotes, because he made some other quotes, other than the ones I've given you. He's made some other quotes on this subject of warning AJ about Usyk. He said, this will be the best boxer Anthony Joshua will ever face in his career. When it comes to natural pure boxing, Alexander Usyk is the most natural boxer AJ will ever face. He is unbelievable at what he does. Taking that into consideration though, he is not a true heavyweight. However, everyone keeps going on. Yes, he is a cruiserweight, but he is the greatest cruiserweight who has ever put gloves on. So he does come with an amazing skill set. There you go then. So you've heard the quotes. People say, YB, see? YB, you make your sources up. YB, you make your quotes up. Oops. I just told you what me and Bellend talked about. I told you that he said that Usyk's the best ever cruiserweight ever lived. The next thing we know, from an official source, Bellend saying the same thing to Talk Sport. So it's interesting, isn't it? But like I told you, the true reason Tony Bellend believes Usyk's the best ever heavyweight ever lived is because he beat heavyweight Hay. That's where it comes from, deep down. We know especially boxers have a massive ego. And Bellend believed, genuinely, after he beat Hay, he believed he was, you man have got a short memory, you really have. Let me tell you a bit about history here. Because you man have got a extremely short memory. What do we know? After Bellend beat Hay, yeah, Bellend was calling out Tyson Fury. He was calling out Deontay Wilder. And the only reason he wasn't calling AJ out was because they were friends. Do you understand? And the only reason Bellew didn't fight Tyson Fury was because Tyson Fury didn't want to fight him, which is shocking in itself. But either way, Tony Bellew genuinely believed, but after the fact he beat Hay, Bellew was saying things like, "Oh look, I beat Hay, and Hay would have smoked Tyson Fury. I beat Hay, and Hay's a much quicker, much more athletic, much more explosive athlete than Tyson Fury. If I can beat Hay, Fury's going to be light work. Hay's got one-punch power. Fury doesn't have one-punch power. I'll smoke Fury." So you've really got to look into the psychology of Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew believed after beating Hay, he was a top 3 heavyweight at the time. He put himself above Fury, and he put himself about level with Deontay Wilder. So really top 2. Genuinely, that's the truth. At that time, he believed, before he got smoked by Usyk, yeah, he literally believed he was easily a top 3 heavyweight. And to be fair to Bellew, I can't really knock him, because he was willing to back it up, if that makes sense. It wasn't his fault Tyson Fury bottled it, was it? Which is such a shame, really. That fight should have happened, but there you go. So we do have to give Tony Bellew some credit there. Yes, we could argue he's delusional, but guess what? He was willing to back it up. He said, Tyson Fury, you get in there with me, and I'm going to smoke your boots, just like I smoked Hay, who's the best ever one-punching heavyweight in the history of the sport. Too explosive. The Haymaker. How do you think they call him the Haymaker? For nothing. No, he is the original Haymaker. And no one got a Haymaker like David Big Toe Hay. And we know the only reason Tony Big Toe Hay didn't knock Vlad Spark out was because he couldn't push off of his big toe. How do you think Hay generates so much power? He needs his big toe to push off. So that's the only reason Vlad made it out. Truth be known. That's the honest truth. If David Hay had his big toe for traction, Klitschko had no chance. I'm not being funny, watch that fight. Go back and watch Klitschko versus Hay. You can clearly see the only real difference is the fact that David Hayes got a blister on his big toe. Yeah? If that blister weren't there, Klitschko would have been toast. So the fact of the matter is, when you do a bit of maths here, if we can conclude, okay, if Hay don't have the blister, Klitschko would have been knocked out and Hayes the undisputed champion. So really, Tony Bellew smoked the undisputed heavyweight champion. So really, it makes perfect sense that Bellend's top 3 heavyweight of this era. You know what? Thinking about it now, if we can fairly conclude, yeah, that Tony Bellew was indeed a top 3 heavyweight, Usyk did smoke Bellew, didn't he? He smoked him. Easy work. Even though Tony Bellew believes that he was winning the fight, but whatever. So maybe Usyk is going to be a phenom at heavyweight like Bellew believes, because Bellend's already told you. Usyk is undoubtedly the best cruiserweight that ever lived. I mean, you haven't laughed. Can you imagine what a prime Holyfield would do to him? A prime Holyfield would walk forward and just grind the bones out of Usyk. Usyk's got 2D bones. He ain't dense enough. Holyfield would have hung out the back of Usyk so expeditiously you wouldn't even believe it. It'd be a sight to behold. Yeah? The way Holyfield would top Usyk would be, wow, trust me. All my LGBTQ dons would be rock hard to watch that one. 100% confirmed. You best believe that as well. Yeah? That would be something to truly behold. The way that Usyk would be bottomed by Holyfield. But yet, your man Bellew, because of his ego, it's the problem with ego you see in boxing. Tony Bellew can't possibly concede. You know what? I beat a washed David Hay, who was no good. And therefore, I was barely top 30 heavyweight. And therefore, me being a top 30 heavyweight, I got smoked by Alexander Usyk. And therefore, that means Usyk don't mean naff all at heavyweight. That's the truth, really, of Tony Bellend's situation. If Tony Bellew was being honest with himself, he would conclude that, you know what, I beat a completely washed David Haye. Yeah? And therefore, I don't know what the F I'm talking about when it comes to Usyk. Instead, he puts himself on such a pedestal. He thinks, well, Usyk must be real decent because he beat me and I'm super duper dangerous. Because I beat the biggest punching heavyweight of the... No word of a lie, yeah? How many times in the build-up to the fight, or how many times have you heard Tony Bellend say David Haye was the biggest punching heavyweight in the last 30 years or whatever? He was saying that in every video, talking about Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. Oh, of course I'm going to beat Usyk. Most people didn't think I could beat the biggest punching heavyweight of the last 20 years. He was saying that again and again and again. So he got himself gassed. Yeah? But listen, listen, Bellend. Let me tell you something right now. Never mind what Usyk did at cruiserweight. Number one, guess what? It's cruiserweight. Oops. AJ is a heavyweight fighter. And even though AJ isn't switched on like I'd like him to be, even so, there's levels to this game, and I'm sorry, Usyk ain't that skillful, in my opinion. I'm not being funny. I think Lomachenko is more skillful than Usyk anyway. And guess what? What happened when Lomachenko went in there, yeah, with a tall, strong, young buck in Teofimo? Teofimo, with just a jab, whooped Lomachenko for the first 7 rounds. And that was with just a jab. And I believe Lomachenko has much more dangerous inside game. Because for them last 4 rounds, when Lomachenko jumped on it for the last 4 rounds, he was dangerous. I've never seen Usyk jump on it like that. Which is my point. Usyk's fiddly on the outside and at mid-range, but he doesn't know how to get stuck in. Dare lie. I guess, to be fair to Usyk, he did get stuck in on Joe Joyce. In my opinion, Usyk's going to need that. He's going to need to do what Lomachenko did against Teofimo for the last 5 rounds. In order for Usyk to win this fight, he must commit offensively. He must try to put AJ under pressure, in my opinion. If he goes in there and he tries to nip and tuck, it's going to be easy work. He's going to get Teofimo'd, in my opinion. AJ's too big, too strong, and AJ will sit on the outside and just jab his nut off for him. AJ will 1-2 his nut off to a decision win. That's what's going to happen. Now, if Usyk goes in there and he's trying to get in and put quick combinations together and that kind of stuff, like I said, the blueprint for Usyk to win this fight would be for Usyk to do what Lomachenko did to Teofimo. Get on the inside quickly and try and bamboozle AJ and then get out again in spurts. Knowing how AJ's inside game isn't as sharp as it used to be. Knowing AJ's counter-punching game isn't as sharp as it used to be. Knowing AJ's more anxious than he used to be. If you can get in there and put a flurry on AJ and buzz him, who knows? That's what the game plan needs to be. From Usyk's point of view. Will he do that? I don't believe so. He ain't got, in my opinion, Usyk ain't got that kind of belief in himself. He's good at talking, I just don't believe he wants it like that. Don't get me wrong, maybe he's going to prove me wrong. Maybe we're going to see all these magic skills everyone's been talking about. And by the way, this whole strategy I've given you, from Usyk's point of view, yeah, that only works if AJ isn't on his job. If AJ comes in the ring like he did against Pulev. Or worse. If AJ comes in better than he was against Pulev, Usyk has no chance anywhere. Because even if he tries to put flurries on AJ, AJ's just going to open him up on the inside. The only way Usyk has a shot in this fight is if AJ is nervous about fighting on the inside, like he was in the Ruiz rematch, like he was in the Pulev fight. If AJ's nervous and doesn't want to exchange on the inside, that's where Usyk can get a look in. Because Usyk can force the inside game, have AJ uncomfortable and bamboozled, and rack points up. If AJ's more comfortable now, not like he was in the Ruiz rematch, not like he was in the Pulev fight, if AJ's happy to tuck up and bang on the inside, Usyk has no chance, because he's going to lose on the outside and he's going to lose on the inside. And I've said it before, but ultimately this fight comes down to only AJ can lose this fight, if that makes sense. Usyk can't win it. The only way Usyk wins this fight is if AJ throws it away, and you know, if that makes sense, and doesn't turn up. Because AJ on his game, no one beats him. Definitely not Usyk's. But I find it hilarious to hear from Tony Bellend anyway, because you know what he's like. Oh, it's the best thing ever. Listen, Bellend, you got smoked, yeah? I know it makes you feel better. You can sleep better at night thinking that you got smoked by the best thing since sliced bread. But the truth is, you just got smoked by a dude who's alright. Yeah? Which means that you was alright. Which is exactly what the case. The true case is, yeah, Bellend, you was British level. And you got smoked by someone who's European level. That's the truth. You'd rather blow it all up to say, oh no, well, Usyk's number one ever, best ever, and I'm number 4, so one of them ones. No, yeah? You're British level, and he was European level. That's what the truth is. No doubt.